Wherever you are in the world, thank you, and welcome to Chris Average. I believe it was Gore Vidal who quipped that the USA lost the Cold War, only slower. In our own historic time, this reality appears now in glorious technicolor, rather than as mere prescience. Kilmar Garcia was returned to the U.S. from El Salvador to face prosecution, an upgrade from his arbitrary arrest and deportation. The mighty Cecot and Tekaluka could see more homegrown U.S. citizens, according to President Trump. There is much to say about Cecot, Nayib Bukele, and Mr. Garcia. But this average polemicist would, instead, like to focus on Miss Rumeysa Ozturk. What do the images of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, established after the Patriot Act and underneath the newly formed Department of Homeland Security, say? What word best describes what the cameras captured on the streets of Somerville, Massachusetts? This viral vignette on her detainment, not an arrest, is a window held up darkly between the former global superpowers, and any Gen Xer will immediately be reminded of the Soviet Union. By kingly decree, it appears Marco Rubio has the authority to deport anyone on a visa like Miss Ozturk. Her sin, an article in the Tufts Daily, which, upon reading, is soft criticism of Israel and its war on Gaza. How she even blipped on Rubio's radar is a complete mystery to this average polemicist, but, without doubt, a vignette of decadence by the executive. Plainclothes enforcement officers with no visible symbols of their authority, surrounding a young woman like thugs, handcuffing her, and hauling her to an equally unmarked vehicle. The ICE covered their faces. It is unfathomable why these scenes are anything but a deep affront to any citizen of a so-called free society. An officer in a hoodie finally unzips and produces what looks like a badge in a cowardly act of covering your ass. Every officer involved in a truly free society would be suspended. Their supervisor would be fired. But Miss Ozturk is not one of us. Trump is not to blame. At the end of the George W. Bush administration, the U.S., imitating the Soviet, jailed more citizens than any other free country. Around us, the institutions of an old world decay and break. Cometh the hour, cometh the man. The Gulag is not strength. The mighty Student Senate of Tufts University can raise sit-ins, but probably not a militia. Plainclothes officers making arrests on the street in this way is decadence, a sure sign of a country without vitality, hemorrhaging virtue and strength like a broken hourglass. The world's oldest national constitution is 236, and feeling its age. Congress does worse than lie prostrate. Judicial protection is thin, especially for those who cannot afford justice. Judge Boasberg, rightly in every moral sense, halted the deportations and, with equal correctness, invoked the names of Joseph K. and Kafka in his decision. The stacked U.S. Supreme Court, however, upheld the Aliens Enemy Act of 1798. Miss Ozturk was held from March to May in Louisiana, charged with no crime, zigzagged across the country by the federal government in hopes of finding a partisan judge. The road to Trump has been paved smooth for decades. Our youth, filling retail shops and coffee bars at Victorian wages, are told what to wear and when to pee. Whole swathes of Americans have skills to cut hair and paint toenails through no fault of their own. The height of purchasing power for the U.S. minimum wage was around 1968, at the dawn of our neoliberal age. the most powerful organizations on the planet, corporations, have tools of exercise and control the Russian Politburo wished they had possessed. Manufacturing Consent was first published in the 1980s. Fake news was not invented by Mr. Trump. The Western legacy media, holding up the glass darkly, is actually even more skilled than Pravda. Our old institutions creak and groan, formed during the era of nationalism. They daily prove their impotence in a transnational, global world. Corporations are authoritarian, attracting the best talent, forging the strongest institutions on the planet, bending governments to their will, all to make ever cheaper tat, burning the planet for good measure while they do so. The Western world is staging a retreat, a great retrograde action away from strength and possibility. Our productive capacity could be channeled into worthy and necessary struggles, global heating to name just one. We retreat instead of rushing to build something better. Does cowardice have a better definition? Does cowardice wear a better face than the hooded figures of the ICE? The great tragedy that will befall us all is there is no one with a progressive vision, no one organizing the new institutions of a unified globe. Preachers on Sunday read from the New Testament, but the people yearn for an Old Testament world. Everything that has bestowed pleasantness and transformed the lot of humankind is distilled from looking outside and trying to understand the world as it really is. The greatest person of the 20th century has the most important quote for the 21st. Seek truth from facts. The vacuum Trump creates will likely be seized upon by a far, far more effective version of the current president, someone who senses the historic moment to seize power, and woe to us all not named Bezos, Musk, or Zuckerberg. But as Mr. Musk is finding out after his brief honeymoon, maybe they will not escape either, despite kissing the one true ring. They came for Miss Ozturk, and I did not speak out because I am not Miss Ozturk. Suggested reading this week is Letter from a Birmingham Jail. Struggle with Peace, Team Average.